Hi, welcome to Dr. Lisa's Souls Empty podcast. I am Dr. Lisa, and today we're going to talk about carbohydrates. Are they really healthy? Are they really not healthy? What's the deal with carbohydrates? And the reason why I want to bring up this topic is because it's probably one of the most number one topics that come up, or the questions that I'm asked, and rightfully so, because I think with the media, I feel like carbohydrates is one of the most misunderstood topics, or macronutrients. And I'm going to share with you what I clinically see in my practice. What does that mean? Basically, I have been a nutritionist for 25 years and a functional medicine practitioner, and been working with patients for that long in all different arenas. If we're doing cardiac and diabetes and heart disease, if I'm doing autoimmune disease, if I'm doing thyroid, if I'm doing infertility, if we're doing, all these different plethoras of ADD, ADHD, autism spectrum disorders, it doesn't really matter what, arena I'm in, carbohydrates come up. So the questions are always, well, which ones are good and which ones are bad? And I understand this topic is confusing because there's so much misinformation out there. There's contradicting information out there. You can actually Google it and you'll probably get a lot of information, but a lot of it's going to contradict itself. So what I'm sharing with you is I have patients, right? And I'm working with a bunch of different types of patients, but a lot of them might have similar, if I'm working with cardiac and diabetes, a lot of them might have similar symptoms, similar struggles. And when I work with them and I give them a treatment plan or a functional medicine plan or a nutrition plan, depending upon what we're doing, let's say I start seeing what works. So if I did X, Y, and Z and I continue doing it, I say, wow, this is really working. This is really getting their blood sugar down. This is getting their A1Cs down. This is working. So that's what I mean when I clinically share with you what works in my practice. That's the information I want you to take away, is what I'm giving you is what I know works. And that's what I come from. That's where I come from, and that's how I teach. So if we talk about carbohydrates, I think the first thing you need to understand, it's a macronutrient. What's a macronutrient is a nutrient it's just a bigger molecule. The micronutrients are smaller. And the micronutrients, meaning micro, right? They're smaller, and they are the nutrients I think that we're going to have a conversation about these next, now that I'm thinking, because they're the ones that are the most misunderstood, and I think very important, if not most important. You eat the macros to get the micros. It's the whole purpose of eating healthy. So that's really important. The micros would be your vitamins, your minerals, your antioxidants, your phytonutrients, your omegas, things like that, amino acids. They're all the smaller molecules that make up the bigger ones. If we go back to the macros, are carbohydrates, fats, proteins. And a lot of people watch those and track those, and that's wonderful. That's not what this is talking about, because we're going to zone into carbohydrates. Now, with carbohydrates, you've got some things going on here. The healthy ones are the plants. I'm going to say it again. The healthy ones are the plants. There's no way when I work with plants with people that we have negative effects or we don't get them healthy. We get phenomenal results. Now, again, if someone has a leaky gut and their gut's inflamed and their microbiome's off and they have bacterial overgrowth or pathogens in there, plants could be tough. So we have to take that path seriously, and we have to take that path slowly. But in general, plants are super, super healthy. It's where most of the micronutrients hang out. And that's what we say when something's nutrient dense or packed with nutrients. The meaning, it's loaded with the micronutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, the amino acids, the phytonutrients, the omegas, right? All these wonderful things that protect the body and the cells. So when you go back to carbohydrates, where all the yummy stuff is, where all the goodness is in the plants. That's where it is. It has fiber in there, tons of fiber as well, because that's really important. A lot of the plants have what's called prebiotic fibers, which when you eat them, they go into the intestines, they get into the colon, and they feed the good bacteria. They feed the probiotics. That's what the good bacteria is in the microbiomes. If you're confused a little bit with the word leaky gut, microbiome, gut pathogens, please go back to my other podcasts, especially in the very beginning, season 1. I go over a lot of this stuff if you want to learn more. But in general, the carbohydrates, the healthy ones, are your plants, fruits, vegetables, right? Fruits and vegetables, I never take people off them. We learn to work with them, but they're super healthy, and it's literally my toolbox. It's how we get vitamins and nutrients back into people. It's how we feed the gut. It's how we feed the cells. It's how we get a lot of the energy back into people. You can keep giving a patient supplements. You can just keep giving them, B vitamins and multivitamins and vitamin D and vitamin K. And I do think they're needed at times. I definitely do think that. But I do see when people eat healthy and I test their vitamin levels, they're doing well. So that's really, really key. So the healthy carbohydrates are definitely the plants and the fruits, and we're going to come back to that. Now, the questionable ones would be the grains, right? So now we're into, let's say, oats and wheat and rice and quinoa and long grain rice, all the different type of rices, the breads, the cereal grains, like all that stuff, right? Now, they're healthy if they're in whole form. They're healthy if it's the real deal. And that basically means that it was grown as God made it or God intended it to. So when you're looking at all these grains, they're healthy in regular form, in regular seeds, in way God intended it to be. And I say God and your creator because whoever made our body, right? If you want to just take it down, and I believe it's God, but your body was made a certain way. It was made to recognize the food that was made for you. So when we alter the foods, when man comes in and starts changing the seeds, genetically modifying seeds, spraying foods, creating hybrids, cross hybrids, then taking and harvesting the grains, and they strip them and bleach them, and they take all the micronutrients out. They take them all out. You could read, I have a blog about wheat, and I go over this and I show you the studies behind it. They bleach it, and then what they do is they fortify and enrich it. So now that you have this, bleached out thing, now they're going to put fake vitamins into it. And this is where it becomes unhealthy because it is not nutrient dense anymore. You're going to think it is because you're going to turn over the box of crackers and it's going to tell you it's got some vitamins and fiber and all that stuff in it. But once it's enriched and once it's bleached, it's now a man-made product. So if you go to the food store and you start seeing that whole bread aisle, that's all fortified and processed. That's not in whole form. And if you go to the cracker aisle, that is all processed and that is not in whole form. So you have to kind of start learning, like, are you really eating whole grains in whole forms? So I really take that whole area or that whole family group of grain carbohydrates and I don't love them. I don't like people on them, and I'll put them in the bad because most of them are man-made and bleached and not nutrient dense. They're empty calories, meaning they have all these calories that have no benefit to you. They have no nutrients to you. I'm not saying everything. Like if you were going to eat some straight up pure quinoa, it's healthy, it's a grain, right? But that's not really what people are eating. That's really what not people eat. A lot of people are eating enriched, bleached, white floured out, junk. And if you're starting to learn to use whole grains and make your own products, that's the better way to go when it's going to come to healthier carbohydrate grains. And this is what we teach in the office, and this is what I've seen. Now, I want to talk a little bit here about that, go back to that nutrient-packed, dense plants. So what you're going to hear is that, carbohydrates are really bad because they spike insulin and they help that you'll gain fat, you'll get heavy, you'll also have too many calories. You're also going to hear that it's going to increase your A1C, your diabetic risk. You're going to hear about all these risks to having too much fructose and natural sugars and things like that. So we're going to really look at this. Let's unpack this. So obviously overconsumption of food in general, eating too much food, is going to it's going to lead to excessive caloric intake. So what does that mean? If you were supposed to eat, let's say 2,000 calories for the day or 1,500 calories for the day, and you eat over that, you eat 2,500 calories, 2,800 calories, 2,200 calories, you're now in an excessive caloric intake. And if you don't work out, you're now just all these extra calories that your body doesn't need is going to get stored to fat. Whether they're nutrient packed or not, your body can probably only use so many calories. So that's really the problem, is the overconsumption that especially Americans do, is they're eating too much foods. But when I work with people who are trying to lose weight, I am telling you, they're eating too many calories, but they're eating empty calories. I don't have patients that are eating plants and fruit and they're having too many calories. It's not what's real. Like, we have to be real here. The overconsumption of food is junk food, man-made food, processed food, packaged foods, box foods, empty nutrient foods. They don't have the micronutrients. So we've got fast foods and restaurant foods and McDonald's and chicken nuggets and hamburgers and French fries. And even if you're making something at home, it's got a ton of butter, it's got a ton of calories. They just keep adding up, tons of sauces and just all these things. And what we feed our kids, if you looked at the caloric intake at the end of the day, it's crazy. That's really where it is. You don't gain weight eating salads, and I'm not saying you should just eat a salad, but I'm just saying when you go to Weight Watchers, it's 0 points, the most of the plants. So there's really about natural sugars in fruits and vegetables. They could pose a risk if you're really just overeating food. So let's say you're having a lot of fruit, but you're eating a lot of other junk stuff. The candies, the chocolates, the crackers, the cookies, the cakes, the bagels, the waffles. They're all empty foods. So my question will be to you, if you feel that if you eat too many fruits, you can have too many calories, please look at what your caloric intake is. And then the next thing is, please look at what your caloric outtake is, your output. If you're working out, you're burning calories. So I would love to see where that is and what you eat, if you really believe that. The other big one is the blood sugar impact, that the natural sugars can affect the blood sugar levels, especially for diabetes. Now, this is actually true, but there's a fear around that one. And so what they do is they put everybody on diet type foods. They put them on the fake sugars. And I can assure you, I do food sensitivity testing, and I will take this to the bank. We look at the antibody levels in people's blood. And what we do is we look to see which foods the body is attacking. And yes, they sometimes attack certain fruits, but it's, pineapple actually, believe it or not, is one of the most common ones that is attacked. The antibody levels are really high. But they attack mostly those fake artificial sweeteners. That's really what I see. I never have seen cane sugar or raw cane sugar, in the raw attacked. Never seen it. Never seen an antibody to it. I rarely see all the fruits. I'll see, hey, this person's having a problem with melons. Hey, this person's having a problem with pineapples. Hey, this person doesn't like mandarins. But we don't see the body attacking fruits as much as we see it attacking xylitol and monk fruit and stevia and, aspartame and all these fake artificial sweeteners. So that I just want to clear up, that with the diabetes, they're putting everybody on these low, I guess, people eat these fake sugars for low calories, but there's also that they don't want to have that insulin spike. Rightfully so, I understand that. But there's a trick to this. And believe it or not, you know what the trick is? It's to eat a healthy fruit and a healthy plant with a healthy protein. And if you eat them together, it will slow down the absorption of the fruit. For example, you just don't want to have a bowl of blueberries, right? You're going to want to have some blueberries with some protein. So you might want to have some yogurt with it. Or you might want to have, what I tend to do is I put fruit in my salad. I put them in my salad and I make sure there's a protein in there. So I have blueberries and strawberries in my salad, or I'll do raspberries or whatever I have. And I will always make sure that there's a protein in there. If I'm going to have stir fries, I will throw oranges in there. I'll throw pineapples in there, but I'm going to make sure there's shrimp in there. There's tofu in there. There's sometimes I do chicken and things like that. So I've worked with diabetes and heart disease for years and years and years and years. And they've done this also. I can confidently say that my dad has struggled with heart attacks and 2 open heart surgeries. And we have, because I meant he had to do the work. we have cleared out his blood sugar levels to be perfect. We've brought down his cholesterol. We have where his cardiologist was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm listening to her," and he's not happy about it because I was making him eat plants, and we just made his blood work perfect. Not saying he didn't go back to his old ways and decided he didn't want to follow what I was doing. And Dad, if you're listening, please, please know that plants are great. Eat more plants. So it can impact the blood sugar. Your insulin can spike. Let's say if you're going to have a green juice, right? Just say you go or a smoothie, or you're going to have a banana, right? I'm just keeping this simple. You're going to have some apples. Yes, your blood sugar is going to come up and then it's going to drop. That's like sometimes when you have an orange, you feel really good and then you crash. So you just have to have a healthy protein with that. That's all we do with the diabetics is I make sure that their meals are healthy. I teach them about the carbs, the fats, the protein. I go through all of it. What are the good carbs? What are the good fats? What are the good proteins? And I get them off all the crap stuff. I get them all the empty stuff. No nutrients, empty nutrients, I call them empty calories, but I shouldn't say that. The calories are empty. And they won't let the diabetics eat the foods that are hot in calories with no nutrients. And that's what I teach. And then I look at what they're going to eat, and I basically say, all right, we're going to balance out these plates, and you're going to eat super healthy, and then you're going to make sure there's a protein at every meal, every snack to keep your blood sugar steady. And we're not going to overdo it on the fruits, right? They just can't have a lot of fruits by themselves. But I do not take fruits out of a diabetic's diet because I know if they follow what I'm going to do, we are going to reverse a lot of these numbers on the labs, and then we're going to put in so many micronutrients. We're going to get this person healthy. So that's what's really important. I mean, the plants have all the vitamins, the nutrients, the antioxidants, the amino acids. The plants don't have too many amino acids. That's more the protein. But you get my point is that the plants are super healthy and they have these micronutrients. They'll say dental health, they'll say that sugars, even from fruits, can contribute to teeth decay. I guess if you're going to, that goes back to the baby giving them apple juice and letting it sit on the teeth. Like if you're eating fruits and you're letting it sit on your teeth and letting it rot, like bottle rot. Yeah, but I mean, again, there's so much for your microbiome of your mouth, and they need, prebiotics, and you have probiotics in your mouth. And so these gut bacteria, they actually need prebiotics. Most of the prebiotic fibers are in the plants. Dental health, I would go back to being, you're probably eating bad sugars. You probably have the wrong pH of your stomach. You probably have a bad gut microbiome and a poor oral microbiome. Digestive issues, we'll just talk about that. So a leaky gut diet is how we deal with digestive issues. And what we do is we take out the food sensitivities. So the first thing is we decide what foods your body is attacking and we take them out. And yeah, if it's a blueberry, we take the blueberry out. So we're going to look at the fruits and vegetables that are not that healthy for you, but we're also going to look at the meats, we're going to look at the dairy, we're going to look at the nuts, the seeds, we're going to look at all the healthy foods. And we're going to take out the ones that your body's attacking to stop the inflammation. But then after that, we're going to try to find the right probiotic to rebuild that gut microbiome to help that oral mouth microbiome. And the next part is to put you on a leaky gut diet, which it composes, when I give it to you, tons of vegetables that are therapeutic to the gut. I pick out of all the vegetables the ones that are most therapeutic and the ones that are highest in prebiotics, because now I have to feed the gut microbiome. I got to make sure I rebuild it. Microbiome, let's talk about it for 1 second before we end this. The microbiome is all the good bacteria in your gut, and it has to live in harmony with one another. So you've got all these good microorganisms living in your gut, and when it's robust and when it's balanced, you are healthy. When it's off and when it's not robust and when it's hurting, if you're not healthy, you feed these good organisms through the plants. So that's why the good carbohydrates are super important in the diet. So you need fruits and vegetables. But here's the trick, is that there's some bad things sometimes in there. And this is what I want you to walk away with. There's some bad things sometimes in the body. In the gut microbiome, we can have pathogens. And you can go to my other podcast and hear more about this. But the gut pathogens, let's say it's a yeast, right? Let's say it's a bacteria in there. Let's say it's a parasite in there. Let's say it's a virus in there. They feed off the bad sugars. They don't feed off the good stuff. They feed off the bad stuff. When we have candida, I've dealt with so many candida people. Yes, we have to cut back for a little short time on the fruits, but I can tell you, I have a candida diet where they're allowed fruit, they're even allowed honey, and they do great. The reason they do great is I take them off the other stuff, all the crap, which I talked about before. I take them out all the bad carbohydrates. I take them off all the bad sugars. And that was what's feeding the gut. And then I go in there and I look at their imbalance and I give them the right probiotic. And then I get them on, guess what? Yeah, plants. So I feed the gut microbiome and we mow down the candida. So you can't be eating a crappy diet and expect to fix candida. So these are just things that when you hear about sugars, we have to consider, all right, what are bad sugars? What are good sugars, right? And so and you have to back up and start with the carbs. Because a lot of people just, when we talk about bad sugars, we think, oh, it's fruit. And it's right there. Oh, it's juice. Oh, it's smoothies. Not necessarily. Absolutely not necessarily. As long as you do them right and you balance them out with your meals and you balance them out with the protein, you're going to be fine. Because, again, a lot of these things, if they're natural, they're beneficial to the body. I want to leave you with the fact that we're talking plants and fruit. We're not talking like the peaches in a jar in a can. We're talking in their natural forms. So I just wanted to add that in there because I know sometimes that could be a problem. So I hope this was helpful for you. And again, all my podcasts aren't meant to replace any medical care. They're definitely for education so you can learn more. So please listen to some of the other podcasts because a lot of what I mentioned here, I go into more depth in other podcasts. Have a wonderful day.